Welcome in. It is the Brave Central podcast. Barrett Sallee and Chris Domino with you. Don't forget to subscribe, share, all of that stuff. This podcast is available for you, the Braves fan. We want to make it the best we possibly can. So, Chris, 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. They fall. The offense sputters yet again. It seems like 2 steps forward, 1 step back for this team, and it's getting kind of frustrating.
Yeah, look, I found out that more and more people are sort of trying to figure out what type of team do the Braves have to be after you win a few games. It's okay, look, maybe this is possible, lose 2 or 3 to Miami. And really, over the course of 3 days with the Chris Sale news, a lot of the national tone sort of changed a little bit. And more people, I'm not saying, it's not like Sir Isaac Newton had an apple fall on his head and everybody goes, oh, that's Sir Isaac Newton guy. He did a lot more than that, by the way, a lot more than that. Might have been one of the biggest brains ever in the history of the world, but he just sort of, oh, yeah, that's the guy that had an apple fall and he said gravity. My point is, I think I'm finding a lot more people are talking about the math to get to 90 wins than ever before. And it's not difficult math. Now, look, it's not easy math when you have to do percentages, and some people kind of forget. How do I figure out 55 of 86? What do I have to do? Well, I can tell you. The Atlanta Braves have to be, again, the best baseball team in baseball for their last 86 games and play a 640 win percentage to get to 90 wins. And, math will tell you a lot of things, but the longer period of time you have is also part of the equation, no pun intended. And you're running out of time with bad crap happening around you, and Chris Sale going down is bad crap going on around you. Having to pitch a 20-year-old for the second time in a week against the New York Mets up in that building, that's bad crap happening all around you. So I can tell you nobody in baseball has played 640 baseball for a lesser time period than the Braves would have to win their 86 games. The closest are the Tigers at 620, and that's come down. But if you look at the teams they're going to be playing, the Philadelphia Phillies after this, they're hot. They're playing 603 baseball for the year. The Dodgers, a lot of money, a lot of things, a lot of teams, a lot of talent. 608. So you've really shortened and condensed the amount of time that you have to get right being healthy and better. And you have to do something you haven't been close to doing, playing this type of baseball. So I can talk about, and you can talk about, what's the rotation going to be? What are you going to do at the trade deadline? Any and all of that really doesn't matter, because you've got to become the best team in baseball for 86 games, and not by a little, but by a lot. And that one is starting to, when you really start to add it up, that's getting problematic. 7 out in the wild card doesn't sound so bad. 7 out without Chris Sale. When you're 7 out because you've played bad enough baseball to be there, not that everybody's played great baseball in front of you. Look at the teams in front of you. Cincinnati better than you? Is St. Louis better than you? I have no idea. I don't think so. But they play better baseball, and you're just putting yourself in a hole that keeps getting deeper and deeper, because better baseball in a shorter amount of time becomes really, really difficult.
It does. And you mentioned Chris Sale, and Didier Fuentes comes up. And look, I don't think he pitched bad on Friday against the Marlins. 4 runs should be enough for a Braves offense that, the way it was supposed to be constructed, should be able to stay in that game. Unfortunately, when it was 4-1, it felt like 10-1 because we are sort of accustomed to this offense sputtering in the way that it has basically all season long. He does get the start in game 3 against the New York Mets. The rotation, look, they, even without Sale, Schwelly going tonight, you like him in that spot. I think that he's done, his stats are better. He's pitched better coming off a loss. You still have Grant Holmes going, and I think Grant Holmes is fine, and Strider looked great the last couple of games. So it still sort of sets up okay, especially compared to what the Mets are trotting out there. But now we're sitting here looking for a long-term solution for Chris Sale. I don't think it's Didier Fuentes. That's just too much on that kid. Is it Hurston Waldrep? Do you make a trade? We've talked about Charlie Morton on the show for, a couple of weeks now. Sandy Alcántara, do you take what he did, not just yesterday against the Braves, but also the 3 previous starts before that, where he's only given up 4 earned runs in 3 starts? Do you go down that road, even though he is expensive next year? You're starting to get to a point where, because Alex was so emphatic with you guys on Cellini and Domino last time he was on, that they were going to be buyers or they're not going to sell. You're sort of getting to a spot where, okay, you got to do this sooner rather than later, and you have to hit in a way that maybe you weren't expecting to hit before the trade deadline. Otherwise, like you said, this thing is going to get too far away. So if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, if I'm the Braves, I start pulling triggers now. I start making moves now.
I mean, look, this goes back to the Peterson deal when Ronald went down. You're doing it, and he said it the other day. You do a deal to let the world know that you're doing deals to add, not subtract. Getting the deal done is a little bit difficult this time of the year because teams are a little bit nervous about, well, if I just wait another day, somebody else is going to call me with a little bit more. And then if I wait another day, and now all of a sudden, instead of June 15th, it's July 3rd. And the amount of time that you could have had a guy for an extra 2 weeks, you lose that ability, plus the price might have actually gone up. So you get double whammied with that. Again, 7 back in the wild card is not undoable. Because I don't think you have juggernauts in front of you. Here's your problem. You know, the Mets hit 7 solo home runs the other day, and you go, oh, wait, maybe they woke up. But you realize that Philadelphia, after going 2-8-10, has gone 9-2 in their last 11. So they basically evened out all of that, and they're a first-place team now because they beat the Mets again last night. You got them at the back end of this, and I'll disagree with you a little bit. You know, Schwellenbach and Grant Holmes is fine. I don't need fine. I need better than fine, especially with this offense. This is 70-plus games of not so good. I need better than fine. And I told you, it's like putting a burden on somebody that, quite honestly, it's like an Achilles tear. That's too much. I'm asking too much of some of these guys as starting pitchers. I'm going to end up asking too much of my bullpen because while I want my starters to go as long as they can, I know there's diminishing returns with all of these guys. And I'm going to end up taxing my bullpen to the point where those guys aren't going to be as good as they can be. And I don't think this is an easy thing because you go, oh, that guy's pitched a good game and that guy's pitched a good game. I need animals. I mean, I need better than anything we've seen this year, not once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. You got to be better for the next 86 games. And I'm not going to get into the games that you blew and why is it 55 instead of needing only 50. Everybody in baseball blows games. I just told you, the Phillies, I wouldn't want to play them right now if I'm anybody, but they got swept by the Pirates just a couple of weeks ago. They were 2-8 games. The ups and downs of baseball this year are pretty incredible. I can't afford any more downs. You know, the idea that you're going to have to be more fine and perfect than you've been without an ability to show that you can be fine and perfect. If your best run, you know, I think it was 19-10 and you're 7-3 in your last 10, but you're looking around going, but what about missed opportunities playing the Marlins in a dead building where you couldn't come up with a couple of hits? You spent your last 3 innings yesterday trying to play catch up to a team that I'm not saying in years past would have been easier to catch, but in years past would have been easier to catch. They weren't throwing out any superstars at you, and you had 9 more outs to try to get back into that game. You didn't do it.
Yeah. So I guess the question needs to be asked moving forward. You look at some of the averages, things that have happened over the last month. They're really bad. But Michael Harris seems to be on a little bit of a different planet in terms of scuffling. He hasn't walked in, a month and a half. He's swinging at pitches that are, 1.5 feet outside the strike zone. Yes, defensively, he's pretty much one of the best, if not the best center fielder in the league. But on base percentage, the worst among qualifying center fielders. The worst, I think it's the worst among qualifying players. I hadn't checked this morning.
Worst in baseball.
Yeah, that's got to change.
He's 3 for his last 30 with an extra base hit. Look, I don't care if you're God Almighty playing center field. I don't care if you're so good you're like the king in his court and you tell the other 2 guys sit in the dugout. Doesn't matter anymore. I can't rely on this whole idea, well, I can't sit him because he plays really good defense. That's over for me. You mean to tell me guys can't go catch fly balls? They can't throw to the right base? They can't do some of the things that his defense isn't enough to tell me that he shouldn't be sitting and watching. And whether it's sitting and watching for any extended period of time, as in go down in the minors and, go get it together, that's a real thing. I don't know. Look, I've always said I'll give a guy a day off. We talked about it with Matt Olson, talked about it with Ozzie Albies, talked about it with Austin Riley. Now, do you need more than do you need more than a day? Certainly looks like it. I mean, there's no miracle unless on on South Beach, he found that genie lamp I was talking about yesterday, and one of his 3 wishes is to not stink. This is not going to be easily done, and I don't think this is a day off thing. This is not a sit and watch. I've watched guys who are tired. I've watched bad body language. I'm watching a player. I'm watching a guy who can't hit. That's really different than a guy that I think is dragging. Bats a little bit slow, played a little bit too much, got to get out of his own head. I mean, Michael Harris does not deserve to be an everyday player right now for the Atlanta Braves. And all I keep hearing is, what are you going to do? Well, I'll go back to Profar being a jackass and being a bad teammate, and that plays into this. It's not why Michael Harris stinks right now, but it means that I can't do something maybe I would do if Profar was around, which is give him a few days off, if not a little bit longer than that. So that's the gift that keeps on giving. But he doesn't deserve to be written in this lineup every day. It's not even close to that. And I'm tired of hearing about his defense. Again, I'll say it to him. I'll say it to his dad. I'll say it to anybody. There is a point of diminishing returns where he's fried. He's fried. So if you want to tell me, oh, the good news is he doesn't take it out to the field. Well, catching fly balls, that's not like trying to hit a cut or a curve, figuring out why I'm in the hole 1-2 every count, it seems. So that's not a thing for me anymore. He doesn't deserve to be in the lineup. And now the question is, do you send him down to try to get right? But who's going to go get him right? I mean, maybe it is put it down. Maybe it is put it down for a few days. Maybe that 10-day away, it's 2 days of just go home and then go play a couple of games in Gwinnett. I don't have an answer, but I certainly know this. I can't trot out a guy with a 252 on-base percentage and believe that he's going to help me at any point during a baseball game, because all that is a wish. You know, I call them wants and hopes and asks. There's nothing realistic in saying that this guy is going to break out of it.
No, there's not, especially when, you know, he's supposed to be the guy that sets the table for Ronald Acuna. And, you know, we've said it consistently. A one-run home run is just a solo home run is just a solo home run. A single with nobody on is just a single. A double with nobody on is just a double. Those things are supposed to be bigger. What Ronald does, that's supposed to be bigger. And he's a big part of it.
I'm in a 2-run game. Again, I don't want to do this, but I'm in a 2-run game. And Michael Harris looks like he doesn't understand the prospect of all of this is to get to Ronald Acuna again. You can't be a reason that I go, am I going to get to Ronald Acuna? No, that guy's an automatic out. How about you actually have a tougher at bat? How about you actually, I don't know, figure out a way to foul a couple of pitches off and maybe win an at bat, either with a base hit or a walk? I mean, you're hitting 8th and Ronald Acuna is a couple of guys away from you. And I'm like, yeah, Nick Allen's going to give me a better chance to get to Ronald Acuna than Michael Harris is. That's horrifying. It just is.
Horrifying. It's horrifying, but it's true. It's true. So it's a problem that, you know, I think for Alex Anthopoulos, I talked about this on the locker room this morning on 680 The Fan. Is it disrespectful for Michael Harris to get sent down after making all that money? And my answer was, maybe, but I don't care, right? You got to do something. You're running out of options, and you might not have any options. I mean, the only thing that's conceivable right now is give him a couple days off, put Eli White out there. Yeah. Is Eli White a better hitter than Michael Harris right now? Yes, he is. Is he a better defender? No.
Well,
but
if he drew 2 walks in a week, he could be a more effective offensive player.
Correct.
So, again, I'm not trying to be smug, and I'm not trying to be a smart ass. I'm not even angry. Like, I hope you can hear it. I think I'm sort of, my reality is my reality. Now, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to agree with it. But I'm not ranting and raving. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I'm not Kendrick Perkins, who, you know, loud is going to win the day. I'm telling you what I know. I've watched a lot of these games. And to try to play 640 baseball when you're nowhere close to being a 640 type baseball team is tough. Do you need to add? Yes. Are there a couple of teams like you that want to add? Of course. Does the price get a little bit steeper day by day? Yes. Do you understand? Let me give you one more. And then the fact that it was Miami this weekend really just is a kick in the nuts. And here come the Mets, but here come the Phillies. Like, you've got a week of this. You're not better than either one of these teams, and the Mets at times have not been good. They lost 7 in a row because they earned it. They win a game hitting 7 solo home runs, and what happened? Well, the next day, it's like what I said about winning on Friday. Who cares? You got to win on Saturday. You got to win on Sunday. You know, the Mets hit 7 solo home runs. You know what happens the next day? It's nothing. So I'll just leave you with this. If you're gonna ask me, and it's really easy now after the Chris Sale thing, where it was such a good night, and it turned into such a crap thing.
Yeah.
And we all agree it's not going to be 15 days because it's just not the way it works. The word rib cage is really different than rib. So it's bad. I don't know how long it's going to take, but there's a better chance that something bad happens than something good happens. Or I'll give you this. Something bad happens as compared to the probability that 2 good things have to happen, which is a minimum of what you need to have happen. You need a minimum of 2 good things to happen. Michael Harris needs to start hitting. Bryce Elder needs to look like an ace. Fuentes looks like, whoa, we got Fernando Valenzuela Jr. here. We got Mark Fidrich Jr. here. I got a phenom. You tell me which of those 2 things are happening before something bad happens again. And bad will be Chris Sale. We'll find out it is going to be, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after a 15-day IL. My point is, I just suspect that the train coming down the track is not going to be, littered. It's not going to be filled to capacity with good news, where all of a sudden everybody's going to get better. Hell, I'll say this: to play 640 baseball, you need 3 good things to happen.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to do this, you need 3 things that have not happened to happen. What are the odds that you get 3 things, 70-something games into a season, 80 games into a season, to happen for you all at once when you need them the most? I don't think that's
not very
realistic.
good.
I don't think it's realistic to say that's the reason for hope. The reason for hope is maybe the people in front of you aren't as good as you, and maybe you just have to be one game. Think about it: 1 game every 2 weeks. 1 game every 2 weeks better than 4 of the teams in front of you. That's realistic. It really is. Because I'm not asking you to be all world. I'm just asking you, as I like to say, I don't have to be the fastest. I just have to be faster than you. Tiger ain't going to get me. Lion ain't going to get me as long as I'm faster than you. 1 game every 2 weeks for the rest of the year could put you in a position to be a wild card team. I just need to know what the good things that you haven't done are going to become the good things that you do.
There's not many options out there. There really aren't. So hopefully we find them. Hopefully the Braves find them sooner rather than later, preferably in New York over the course of the next week. We'll see if that can happen. And hopefully when we record this podcast on Friday morning, we are talking about a series win over the Mets, preferably a sweep. I don't know. I don't know how that can happen, but maybe Didier Fuentes does become Fernando Valenzuela Jr. We'll see. For Chris Domino, I'm Barrett Slee. This has been the Brave Central podcast. We'll talk to you Friday right here, wherever you get your podcasts.